The doors of peace negotiations would remain open for those in the Taliban who are ready to stop the bloodshed and lay down their arms. However, this opportunity will not be there forever. I want to make this clear that we do not expect Pakistan to bring the Taliban to the negotiating table.
That's the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani there calling on Pakistan to fight the Taliban instead of working to revive peace talks. Welcome back to The Heat. Let's get back to our panel. Ambassador, getting back to something Michael said a moment ago, does Afghanistan believe that Pakistan is providing a sanctuary, a safe haven for Afghan Taliban fighters? And does that give Pakistan a lot of leverage over Afghanistan?
We think in Afghanistan, and I think across the board, without almost any exception, that it's not just sanctuaries, it's way beyond sanctuaries. Remember, the Taliban, somebody called it a project. Somebody wrote a big piece about it. And this Taliban project has been in existence for 22 years. And there was the pre-9/11 period where we knew where they were coming from, which madrasas they belonged to, and who were their teachers, and what was the brand of Islam that they wanted to impose on Afghanistan, which gave Pakistan, some influence. But Al-Qaeda was in the mix, and they had their plans. Post 9/11, we see for a short period the possibility that the Taliban are no longer a viable or a credible partner or a player. But by 2004, 2005, there's a realization that Pakistan thinks that it can revitalize the Taliban. And without that Pakistani and other, not just Pakistani military and strategic decision, but also others who are part of this in the Middle East and beyond, this would not have happened. And the Taliban would not have been able. It's not just governance. Yes, governance is a problem. Corruption is a problem in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. But it's beyond that. It's something that has existed since the 1990s and even before that, after the Soviets left Afghanistan. So in my opinion, this policy continues. And unfortunately, this policy continues with no winners. Pakistan thinks that it is winning. But look at the record, look at the history. It has not accomplished a thing. It has turned 30 million Afghans as enemies. It has not invested in its own country. There are huge problems facing Pakistan. And India, on the contrary, is becoming a totally different country. And China, as well, is playing a role that is seen mostly as constructive because it does not want to deal with terrorism. The only player that is still playing with terrorism as an instrument of foreign and security policy seems to be Pakistan.
Hassan, what do you think? I mean, what the Ambassador Samad is saying, we've heard before from the Afghan leadership. They've been calling on the Pakistanis to shut down these sanctuaries, hand over the Taliban fighters to Kabul so that they could be put on trial there. We had a Pakistani advisor, senior foreign policy advisor, Sajjad Aziz, who said he dismissed it, actually.
I, in fact, agree with the ambassadors in terms of the spirit of his argument. I think the Taliban, the whole game, the way Taliban came onto the fore and how they destroyed the culture, politics, religion, art in Afghanistan has been a terrible story, and Pakistan is to be blamed along with other members who all played a very negative role, from the Saudi money, the international involvement, the failure of reconstruction. I mean, these are all different factors which played. At this moment, to expect, I mean, I am a bit surprised about Afghan expectation as well as Western expectation that Pakistan would be able to play a very constructive role in bringing Afghan Taliban to the table. Taliban are not someone, the hardcore Taliban were beyond the realm of what you can, people with whom you can negotiate. Could you negotiate with Osama bin Laden or with Baghdadi? Same is the category with Mullah Omar, who's dead now, but with other players. To expect that with their bigotry, with their narrow-mindedness, with their worldview, that they would come on the table and accept the Afghan constitution and the new Afghanistan, which has brought hope, is a false hope. So I am basically very critical of this whole approach. For Pakistan also, for Pakistan to bring Haqqani on the table, they have an indirect offer. I think they're saying, you just make us also an important player in Afghanistan, push back a little bit on India. And they have been very strongly and constantly saying this. So I go back to that regional context. There was a very famous article which I would refer you to by Barney Rubin and Ahmed Rashid, two very seasoned experts. They wrote in Foreign Policy about, I think, 7 or 8 years ago, calling it a big bargain or great bargain, I think, which was they saying, let's settle the Pakistan-India thing to a bit and then push Pakistan to do what is needed to be done in Afghanistan. So that thing, that's why I'm saying remains. Whether it is a perception, whether it is a myth, whether it is a reality, is something else. Something needs to be done on Pakistan-India account for them to stop this kind of proxy war they're in.
Michael, is there still an opportunity for a grand bargain here? Because Pakistan has been working with the United States, with China, with Afghanistan to reach some kind of negotiated solution. Let's listen to what Secretary of State John Kerry had to say.
Again today, we call on the Taliban to enter into a peace process, a legitimate process, a real process that provides equal rights, protection for all Afghans, and brings to an end the violence and the suffering that the people of this country have endured for so many years.
So these internationally backed peace efforts, where are they going?
I think that peace is not dead by any means in Afghanistan, but the peace process is certainly, it's dead in the water. I think you need to restructure it. Given the mood in Afghanistan now, particularly after this relatively recent attack in Kabul, this horrific attack, I don't think there's much of a mood in Afghanistan. I don't think there's much of a mood, particularly within the political class, for any sort of peace process involving Pakistan. Now, whether it's possible to have direct peace negotiations between Kabul and the Afghan Taliban, I don't know, but I think that the Pakistan issue is what the challenge is now. And certainly a few weeks from now, a few months from now, things could change. But I think that what was said, what President Ghani said in his speech to Parliament a few weeks back, suggests that, at least right now, it's very unrealistic to think that this quadrilateral peace process could start again with Pakistan involved. I think that's going to remain a challenge.
If I may add one thing to it, I think what both of my colleagues have said, also, we must acknowledge President Ghani's initiative. He must be given credit that he tried his level best. He went to Pakistan. He was blamed by all sides within Afghanistan. And he took the initiative to going to Pakistan, to the military leadership, to everyone saying, okay, can you help? Tell me honestly, can you help? And they, on the Pakistani side, this is my assumption or guess, but calculated guess, they kept on giving him a 6 months timeline, a 1 year. We'll do it in 8 months. And then nothing happened. So they took the rug from under the feet of Ghani also. So we must give Ghani that he tried a very constructive approach, but somehow it has not worked.
Right. So, Ambassador, what were the consequences for the president then? What kind of pressure is he under now in Afghanistan to abandon peace efforts?
Well, the pressure is that he needs to show focused leadership and mobilize the Afghans in trying to create space for in Afghanistan that looks into the future, and by putting as much pressure as possible on the Taliban and denying space to the Taliban. So now I think what we are seeing is an attempt at, by public pressure mostly, in public opinion, is to deny space to the Taliban anywhere possible, to inflict as much harm as possible on the Taliban, and to make it very clear that there is no chance whatsoever for the Taliban or anyone, any group that espouses violence and bloodshed in this manner to be part of the Afghan family. And I think that this is the message that the Afghans have expected of the president to understand. He gave it a try, it didn't work, now we have to recalibrate.
Hassan, at least the Afghans are saying that if there is no adequate response from Pakistan, then they will take this, they will complain to the UN Security Council. How do you think that will go?
I think that will not go anywhere. What needs to be done is on the Afghan part, I mean, think of this. This is an era where tribalism is strong. In the south, Taliban are getting some support from some people. I mean, in some areas, there's some local not only presence, but collaboration. So Afghanistan will have to establish its institutions, and the West will have to help it build it. The Pakistan factor is once there's success story of Afghan governance happening, Pakistani influence will automatically recede.
Right. Michael, I've just got about a minute. What kind of pressure is the United States putting on Pakistan to meet those Afghan demands?
Well, I mean, the U.S. is always putting pressure on Pakistan to be doing something, and a lot of times it doesn't pan out. Sometimes it does. I mean, the U.S. for years has been pressuring Pakistan to stop distinguishing between so-called good and bad militants. The good militants in the Pakistan context include the likes of the Haqqani network and the Afghan Taliban. I imagine the U.S. is trying to get through to the Pakistanis in this regard, but the extent to which it can get through to them, I simply don't have much confidence in that, even after all the aid that's been provided and that type of thing. I'm just not very...
If you like what you just saw, follow us on social media and visit our website, cctv-america.com.